I mean, still working. Like, that would have been cool. Yeah, what cost?
It's a long day.
Or Shannon, I think Shannon was with them. Chloe Todd. Wednesday night, 16 and all. They just went out like 8 hours of sleep in between.
Yeah, he's kind of been the same way because he went to home and he back for 18 hours. Yeah, got another plan. Leo. Yep. I got an SD card in the camera. You want me so we can record it too. Recording. Alright, I'll just leave it running. There's plenty of time on the card. Yep.
How are you? I wouldn't be surprised. Inright's one of those kids. I don't know. Try to go watch them and realize that. Yeah, I mean, yeah, I was talking to someone about the site regs. Darren's your coach. You got the same coach he was here. You got to win. I think he's a major conference.
You guys have audio?
Yeah, I think so, yeah.
Mic check, 1, 2, mic check. You guys got me back there? All right, sweet. Awesome. All right, well, first off, what an exciting and historic day here at Drake University. We get to introduce the 30th head coach in Drake Bulldog program history. I'd like to welcome everybody to the newly named Schickler Club. Paul, appreciate you being here. Thank you. Like to welcome our audience watching through the Drake Athletics YouTube and Facebook page. I know there are a lot of Drake Bulldog fans that couldn't make it in here today, but excited to see what's about to go down. All right, a lot to be excited about today. Obviously, we're here to welcome a new head coach. I think we've got a great coach, a guy that has strong family values and someone that's a perfect fit to keep this thing rolling here at Drake. I also would like to welcome his family, because when you hire a coach, you also bring in a wonderful family, and Michelle, Peyton, Tate, and Grace. Let's give them a warm Drake Bulldog welcome. All right, so here's how this thing's going to play out. I'm going to step aside here real quick. We'll bring up President Marty Martin. Then we'll hear from Director of Athletics Brian Harden. And then head coach Ben McCollum will take the podium. After each three of these gentlemen have had a chance to talk to the audience, we'll open up to a Q&A from local media, and a special thank you to the St. Joe KQ2 media for being up here, and Northwest Bearcat Radio also in the house. So thank you all for making the trek up here. So we'll do the Q&A afterwards, but without further ado, let's jump into this and welcome up President Marty Martin.
Thank you, Michael. How about a big round of applause for Michael Admire for all he does for our program? Yeah. So we are in what can only be called a golden era of Drake athletics. A golden era of Drake athletics. You see it in the performance of our student athletes, first and foremost in the classroom, because they are student athletes. Semester after semester, they're setting records for cumulative GPA of our Drake student athletes. Multiples every single year get recognized as Scholar Athlete of the Year in their conference that they're competing in. They're doing this in many of our most difficult majors. They're investing everything they have in their total experience, both in their field of competition and in their classroom. But in addition to that, they're also doing it in the community. They're out there making a difference in the lives of others through the platform that's been provided to them by being a Division I student athlete at Drake. That gives them a platform, and they're willing to use that to help others, whether it's visiting a hospital to lift some spirits or to roll up their sleeves and work in a park, any number of ways. They are making a difference in the community through the opportunity extended to them by being a student athlete at Drake University. And then, of course, they're winning, and they are winning a lot. Let me try to recap, see if I can get it all in there. And I'll just do 2023 and as far as we've gotten in 2024. So 2023, men's and women's basketball win Missouri Valley Conference tournament champions and go on to NCAA. Men's and women's tennis win their conference championships and go on to NCAA. Men's cross country wins their championship and go on to compete further. Women's soccer wins the regular season trophy in the Missouri Valley Conference. Men's football wins the Pioneer League trophy and goes on to play in the NCAA tournament. And then there are many, many, many individual performances that were worthy and indeed earned championships, particularly in track and field, led by many athletes, but particularly Brooke Mullins, Isaac Bastine, and Anthony Barnes. And now we go into 2024, and Isaac and Brooke and Anthony have already won indoor championships in the Missouri Valley Conference, and we've repeated as men's and women's MVC tournament champions, and the women's team won the regular season conference title as well. And all these teams rack up many other awards and honors, as do coaches, So it is a great time to be a Bulldog. We are in a golden era of Drake athletics, and we stand here today ready to extend that, to take that to the next level in men's basketball through the hiring of Ben McCollum. Let me talk about Ben for a few moments, as you would expect me to. I first met Ben when we went through our last cycle of hiring a new basketball coach. He came over to the house, and we spent almost 2 hours together getting to know each other, talking about his vision for how he uses the platform that's extended to him to enrich the lives of the young men that he coaches. And it was a wonderful conversation, was incredibly impressed with him. He was just at the beginning of what turned into an unbelievable run of success, and was really, again, quite excited about who he was and what was ahead of him in the future. Obviously, we made a different choice then, but now we're here making a new choice, and that choice is to invite Ben and his family to be here at Drake University. Ben and I met last week for another lengthy conversation, and at the end of that, I said to him, you probably noticed we haven't talked any X's and O's, and I like to talk X's and O's, I really do. But I already knew that was solid. I mean, there's no question about that, right? You look at his record, you look at the people who rely upon him for advice and counsel, and you know this man knows basketball. He knows how to take a player and make them better on that court. He knows how to mold those players into a team to achieve phenomenal success. That was not our conversation. Our conversation was about culture. It's about how you treat people. It's about how you use that platform. Again, we came back to a conversation we'd had earlier, how you use that platform to form these young men into persons who will be great fathers, great husbands, great partners, great employees and colleagues and citizens. And I was then, as I had been earlier, greatly, greatly impressed by him. So that's, frankly, the main reason he's here. We have great confidence that he's going to lead this program to more and more success on the court. But that would not be sufficient. If that's all we believed about him, he wouldn't be here. That would not be sufficient. Because most important is how he treats these people, these young people who are on his team, how he enables them to use, again, the experience that's presented to them by being a Division I student athlete at Drake University to prepare them for the rest of their lives. And I have nothing but superior, complete confidence that this is the man for that job. And so I want to say, again, to Ben, thank you for saying yes. I want to say to his family, thank you for allowing him to say yes. We really welcome all of you to the Bulldog family. It's now my great pleasure to invite Brian Harden, our athletic director, to the podium. But before I turn to him and say, come here, I just want to say a few words. I began these remarks about talking about the fact that we're in this golden era of Drake athletics. And it's no coincidence that we're in that era under Brian Harden's leadership. Brian arrived in late 2017 and things changed. And they've continued to change. They've continued to get better. He's had remarkable vision about the place of this athletics program in our university, and in this greater community. This notion that is now completely, firmly taking hold of Drake being Des Moines' hometown team. That's all Brian Harden. His ability to work with colleagues to enable them to achieve the success that they and we know they can achieve, and I'm looking around the room and seeing them. His ability to rally the entire department towards this excellence that we promise these young people who join us. So I would not have any other athletic director in the country than Brian Harden. He has brought us to this point, and he, along with all of his colleagues in athletics and all of you, because all of you have a hand in this. This is what's important, that all of you, all of us together make this happen, and Brian leads that effort. So please join me in welcoming Brian Harden to the podium.
Marty, thanks for the kind words. It really means a lot, and my parents are here. I want to thank my mom for writing Marty's notes today. So thanks for that, Mom, putting that Drake degree to good use. But this is a great day to be a Drake Bulldog. Marty touched on it. He hit a lot of the points that I want to try to make here today. But thank you all for being here. I mean, this is an exciting moment in our history. Really excited for what today represents, but also what is going to happen here. Before I get a chance to introduce Ben and make some comments about maybe the process that led us to today, there are some thank yous that I want to be able to share. First of all, to Marty for just being a great partner in this, being a terrific sounding board throughout the search process. It could not have done it without you. So thank you for your leadership, your guidance of the institution, your interest in athletics, and being there for me at every step of the way here over the past couple of weeks. To our senior staff, athletics department staff, coaches, thank you for allowing me to kind of go underground for a week and conduct the search. The department probably ran more efficiently with me not in the way here, so thank you to everyone for all that you did. We're blessed to have so many wonderful people in our department that have allowed us to achieve many of the accolades that Marty rattled off, and so it allowed me a great comfort at night knowing that I could go about my business of trying to identify our next men's basketball head coach, because we had such wonderful people in our department that were going to kind of keep everything moving here for our student athletes. Maureen DeArmond, a lot of folks in the room may not know her. She's our Executive Director of Human Resources. She gave up time on the weekend 10 days ago to help us with a term sheet to finalize Ben as our new head coach. To Kara, and Kara's here, and my boys, thanks for your understanding and kind of, they know when search mode happens, I kind of, disappear for a little bit, and they allow me that grace to kind of go about and do everything that needs to be done so that we can find the best person here for Drake Athletics. My parents, I referenced that they're both here today. They actually chipped in also because Kara was in Indiana helping her mom recover from knee surgery. They were there to help our boys, and as it turns out, one of our boys decided to wake up at 2:30 in the morning on one of the days I was supposed to be conducting an interviews that day with the flu. And that was a nice little wrench that was thrown into the mix. And when we sent Noah to school a day or so later, I got a call from the school nurse literally in the middle of another interview saying that, hey, could you come pick him up? Well, not right now. I think he's going to be just fine. Just put him in a corner of a room by himself. He'll be fine. But my parents went over and grabbed him and picked him up and dropped him off back at the house. So thanks for being there for the boys. As has been done with all previous head coach searches, I went into the search with criteria that was important to me and then measured coaches against it. 6 years ago, if you recall, some of the criteria that we emphasized was sustained excellence of a program, student athlete identification and development, and fit for the campus and community. Those elements ring true today, and I'm going to circle back to them momentarily. But we must also acknowledge that we find ourselves as a men's basketball program in a different position today, as well as in a different time. 6 years removed from our last head coach search, we now have our men's basketball program in the enviable position of trying to stay on top of the Missouri Valley Conference rather than ascend to it. And we find ourselves, like every other school, grappling with the transfer portal and NIL opportunities. Make no mistake, the level of sustained excellence our program has experienced is directly connected to the people, culture, and resources that we have prided ourselves in over the past 6 years. the alignment from our board of trustees, we have members represented here today, President Martin, allow us to position our program a certain way. Darren DeVries and his coaches showed us what was possible at Drake, and it was so many within our department who had direct and indirect impact on our program that put our coaches and student athletes in position to flourish. This championship culture, when combined with the necessary resources entrusted to us through the Bulldog Club and the Do Great Collective, provided experiences and opportunities that were distinct to Drake from our conference peers. All of our fans, everyone in this room here, can take ownership in what has been accomplished, but even more so in what we can achieve next. This brings me to 2 weeks ago. Because of the alignment we have at Drake, the fantastic support we receive from our fans, the established level of on-court excellence of our program, and the belief that we are only just now scratching the surface of what we can achieve together, our men's basketball team, the interest in our men's basketball head coach program was arguably greater than any time in our history. Choosing our next head coach amongst a talented pool of candidates had to be rooted in criteria. When evaluating the candidates against our criteria, one name climbed to the top, Ben McCollum. For 15 years, Ben built and maintained not only the preeminent Division II basketball program, but the best dynasty in all of men's college basketball. 4 times in the last 7 years, in the last 7 tournaments, his Northwest Missouri State squad claimed the national championship, and he won a staggering 92% of his games since 2016. That is sustained excellence of a program. Ben is a defensive-minded coach, yet his offenses have been the most productive in all of college basketball over the last 8 years. In fact, numerous high major coaches have reached out to Ben to learn the intricacies of his offense and have sent him game tape for Ben to evaluate and send back notes to make their NCAA tournament teams better. However, as I learned from hearing from these coaches, the more that these high-profile coaches got to know Ben, the more they appreciated how Ben not only develops young men on the basketball court, exhibited by his 2 National Players of the Year and 6 Conference Players of the Year that he has mentored, but these elite coaches took notes on the bond he formed with his guys that taught life lessons to these men. Ben is all about identification and development of players and people. Lastly, Ben is one of us. He's a grounded, hardworking person who values his family and personal life ahead of his professional accomplishments and aspirations. Like Allison Pullman, Blake Bolden, and many others in our department, Ben is an Iowa native who understands and appreciates Drake University and the impact it can have on our campus and our community. Ben has had numerous other opportunities to become a Division I head coach over the past few years, but he waited for this position to open. He didn't want to be just any Division I head coach. He wanted to be the Drake head coach, and that matters. That matters, and it's why he's a tremendous fit for our campus and our community. Truth be told, I'm sure that Ben would certainly prefer to be sitting at a pond right now fishing today. So if anyone has any tips on a place that he can go, I'm sure that would be a quick way for you to endear yourself to him. But we're thrilled that Ben, Michelle, Peyton, Tate, Grace could be with us here today. So please help me welcome the 30th head coach in Drake men's basketball history, Ben McCollum. And if there's any question of why the number is 3, so Ben wore number 3 in college, but that was a green and white school, so we thought he looked better in blue and white, so we got him in New Jersey with number 3 in blue and white. Yeah.
Well, thank you. I'm excited to be here. And in all seriousness, that pond thing is a reality. So if somebody does have ponds, I'm dead serious. I'm all in on that. Greg's got a nice one. Yeah, no, I fish as often as I can, take my kids and all that. So when we took over the program at Northwest, and while we're currently taking over this program here, our objective has always been to make kids successful once they leave the institution. So in every recruiting pitch that we give, it is, can we make you better because you played basketball at this institution?
And that will be the same here at Drake. So we want to develop, like President Martin said, we want to develop better citizens, better husbands, better community members, so that they can go into their community and make their world a better world because they were with us. Specific to Drake University, why this opportunity? I've always felt like the jump to Division I is something that, from a challenge perspective, I wanted to make. But we've always kept the first thing first. And the reason we got into college coaching, the reason I got into college coaching, is to make a difference on people's lives and the community surrounding it. For me, being from Iowa, the big community of Des Moines, when they come see our kids play and they see the love they have for each other and they see how they serve each other and they see how connected they are and they see how tough they are, it sends a message that this is how the world should be and this is how Des Moines should be. And so taking over this specific program, we felt like this would be the best platform to be able to send that message to the Des Moines community and to the entire state of Iowa. So why Drake? That's why. We feel like this is the perfect opportunity to do that. A few things, thank-wise, want to make sure that and I'll keep it fairly short and then answer some questions. I want to make sure that, obviously, I thank Brian Harden and President Martin. When I interviewed with them the first time, they had a vision. And to be quite honest, I thought they were half crazy, where it was, hey, we want to become, and we're not there, but maybe eventually, we want to become the Gonzaga of the Midwest. We want to be that competitive throughout. And part of having a vision is you do kind of have to go out there on your own and fight for that vision. And they've done that. And obviously, Coach DeVries helped with that, helped get it to that next level so that now we can hopefully leverage some of that momentum and get it to another level to where you're making NCAA tournaments consistently, which they have done, and winning NCAA tournament games, winning conference championships. But most importantly, while you're doing that, developing quality young men that go into the community and make a big difference in the community. So thanks to them for giving me that opportunity. Thanks to a lot of the donors, the alumni, the former players, for again allowing me the opportunity to lead this program. We couldn't be more excited to move to Des Moines and to see what kind of opportunities there are for our kids, my wife, and obviously myself and my staff. I want to make sure that I thank Northwest Missouri State. It's been 15 years, and it was a great 15 years. And when I was 27 years old, the head coach, I was an assistant at Emporia State actually at the time, became the head coach at 27 years old. And a guy named Dr. Bob Bowrichter hired me and, took a risk on an assistant coach. And he said it was the most unpopular decision that he's made in his history as an athletic director. Ironically, he says it to this day. Moving the tailgate to a certain area, which was an unbelievable decision, and hiring Ben McCollum was his two worst decisions from a popularity standpoint. So, heck of a deal. So Northwest Missouri State, all the donors there, all the people involved in that program have obviously given us the opportunity to now be able to be at Drake. And the former players that I've coached there, all my assistant coaches, all the managers, I am very thankful for what they've given me. My former presidents, President Jasinski, obviously President Tatum, my former athletic directors. I just mentioned Bob Bowrichter, and I'm probably missing some names. So making sure that I thank them for everything that they've given to us. But for Drake, our objective is to put out a good product so that you can be proud when we go on the road and we represent Des Moines and we represent who you are as people and what Iowa is. And that's tough, hardworking, connected servants, and you're going to see that on the floor. And we're going to be a great representative for Drake. We're going to make a difference on kids' lives. Obviously, from an X's and O's standpoint, we're going to be hopefully pretty good there as well. But most importantly, we're going to be a great representative for who you are as people, who Iowa is, and who Des Moines is. So thanks for the opportunity, and I'll open it up to some questions.
Just raise your hand, and Dave will
Test.
track you down.
Hey Ben, I'm just kind of curious, how do you envision that jump from Division II to this level and using what you accomplished there, working here? How do you plan to utilize that?
Yeah, so I think anywhere you go from an organization standpoint, no matter if it's a business or if it's athletics, it is 100% the people. And so how much can you pour into the people in your program, the people above you, et cetera? I don't think because it goes from Division II to Division I that changes. I think you actually have now more assistant coaches to be able to pour your heart and love on a lot of the players that you have. So the transition to accomplish what we've accomplished, obviously there'll be some conceptual things that some X's and O's things, if you will, that'll change, but conceptually it's still get the best people and put them in position to be successful. How you attract them may be different. How you coach them may be slightly different, but it's still about loving on them and serving them as much as you can possibly do it. That translates to success quicker than any other X's and O's formula that you may have.
Coach, back here. Jeff Dubrow with KCCI here in Des Moines. You heard Brian talk about this new era of college athletics and the transfer portal and players jumping to different rosters, and you come in and not only have to try to maintain what you have, but bring in new players. What does that process look like for you, and has that started already?
That has started already, yep, and it dominates a lot of my time right now. So it's a lot of sleepless nights, a long days of calls, but I think we can sit here and complain and get upset as coaches with the transfer portal, or you can embrace it. And a lot of it isn't as much the transfer portal as it is the NIL component to it, where even going back 5-6 years ago, I've had kids, one that ended up going on to Creighton and was all Big East, and another one that probably could have gotten quite a bit of money in NIL. I don't know that in today's area I could have kept some of the most loyal people there are to stay within the program because of the financial situation that presented itself. So I think as a program, we're going to embrace that. We're going to embrace the fact that if you do have a young man that does perform at a high level, eventually he may move on to that next higher level for a certain, a certain criteria of money. So, but in regards to recruiting right now, we are full go, multiple visits. We're ready to rock. We're going to find good players, and we're going to find players that fit. We're going to find tough kids, and again, kids that you guys will be proud of.
Coach, right here next to him, John Sears, WHO TV. At Northwest, you had unbelievable success, consistency. Mid-majors sometimes can fluctuate up and down. What's the secret to maintaining that success and consistency within a program?
Again, it probably goes back to the people, one. Two, the second part of that is the process piece of it. So we've always, as I mentioned to start, we've always focused on the success of individuals after they leave. So we say, we're going to win games. We're going to find ways to win championships. We're going to find ways to do those things. We are not going to focus on that. We're going to focus on developing you as human beings. If we focus on that, the results, the championships take care of themselves. So go back to when we won our first conference championship, our first national championship. Success is a lot harder to handle than adversity. But because we focused so much on the process of individual development, a lot of times they didn't drink the poison of what we call it the poison of success. They didn't drink that poison because they weren't so result focused, they were process focused. Did I get a little bit better today? Did I work hard today? Did I love on a teammate today? Did I serve somebody today? And that's all it is. Then the results will take care of themselves. And that's the recipe to be able to maintain that high level of success, coupled with the fact that I'm fortunate enough I've been blessed enough to coach some of the best human beings there are. I mean, we had the best kids that there are in the world. And so you're able to have that success and continue it.
You
guys talked about how you were interested in the job before and now interested again. What is it about this job that has made it on your radar always time for as long as it's been?
I think the administration is very connected. So anytime you take a new position, you need people that really help you be successful. And Brian and Marty are super connected. They're super aligned in their vision and what they want to accomplish. They're people that, even through the process, there's never a no. It's always, let me see if I can find a way. And that helps you be successful, one. Two, it's Iowa. It's God's country, right? Isn't that what they say? That's not what they say. That's what I say. So when I'm living down there in Missouri, which I love Missouri too, it was always, hey, you go another 25 minutes, you're gonna feel better about yourself. So, yeah. So and then Nebraska people, obviously, but I don't know about Nebraska. Obviously, and just the community of Des Moines and the ability to touch a lot of lives. I think that's the big thing that we want to make sure early on that we're able to do is continue to generate some excitement around the program and really make it Des Moines' team and make it the show in town. And why? Again, because when you see how our kids interact with each other and you see our kids love on each other, that's how you want the world to act. And so it's always about a bigger message. And I felt like Des Moines offered that opportunity in Drake.
Coach Larry Morgan with Drake TV play-by-play. You've mentioned several times about players loving each other. When you're building a roster, I know you have to have skills, you have to fill positions, you have to figure out guys who will fit together. So what is your thought process on just trying to build a roster?
Well, I got a lot of thoughts on it. It kind of depends on, at this point, it depends on a little bit what you can get, meaning I think in the transfer portal you have to, Division II, you kind of get what you get a little bit, meaning once it filters down, then you have to identify talent that might fit that somebody else doesn't value. And so you move up a level, now you can get a little bit more of exactly what you want. And so as we're in that, it's kind of like speed dating. You have to make sure that you have to make sure that when you identify an individual that's a transfer, that you can now ask his whole circle and get in contact with them as quickly as you can possibly get there. And then get as much information about their mentality, specifically early in a program, making sure that they have the right mental makeup. And you have to do that in a very timely manner, simply because the transfer portal is essentially speed dating. And then you have to make that not feel transactional. And that's kind of the trick that we're trying to go with, because we still want to make things transformational rather than a transactional decision of, hey, we'll pay you X amount to come here. I don't think it's about that. Obviously, their kids will need that stuff, but it's not what it's about for us. So a quick assessment, a quick, hey, you got to touch this person, this person, this person, and then make a decision based on that.
Coach, under Darren DeVries, Drake had tons of success. Did that make it easier to want to take over this job, knowing that a foundation had been laid and Drake has kind of built a reputation out in the MVC and nationally as a mid-major power?
Yeah, absolutely. I think some people would say you'd want to take over a pro. It's always interesting when coaches, they haven't won in 10 years. Take over that program. Why? Like what? What? They're still going to have the same expectations. And so when we took over the program at Northwest, I had a former coach that had been to 10 straight national tournaments. His last year was a little bit rougher, but before that it was as successful a program as there was in Division II. And I don't know, why not take it to another level? That's kind of my theory. The structure's there. Coach DeVries and his staff did an unreal job of building this thing to where now you have to build on the momentum and don't get stalled out. Now it's about kind of keep going, build on that, leverage some of the success that they've had.
Something I always enjoy asking coaches, I will ask you, the best piece of coaching advice you ever got?
Be you as a head coach.
From?
Brandon Schneider, the KU women's coach. He was at Emporia State when I was there. And I remember walking into his office. This was when I had gotten the job at Northwest. And again, I went from an assistant coach that knew everything to a head coach that absolutely knew nothing. In a day, it was amazing how you didn't have any answers anymore. But I asked him, I said, what's your greatest advice as a head coach or for a head coach? And he said, be who you are. I'm like, okay. At the time, it just didn't make sense to me. I was just like, okay. So I moved on from it 2 years down the road. So my first season, I tried to be mild head coach, Steve Tapmeyer. And then my second year, I tried to be my other coach, David Moe. And then eventually I was like, okay, we're not very good. I probably should try to be Ben McCollum at this point. And I figured out exactly what he meant. You can do it your way and take different pieces from everybody else, from Steve Tapmeyer, one of the best coaches I've ever been around, David Moe. I took bits and pieces, but I still did it my way that third year, and then we were able to win the league.
Coach, in an era where everybody wants to run and jump at that first opportunity, you obviously stuck around 15 years at Northwest and waited for your best opportunity. What allowed you to stay so comfortable in being in that spot? And now how does that translate to Drake as far as putting down those roots of being around the point for a while?
Yeah. It's a good question. I think it had to be the right opportunity, like I had shared earlier, to where we felt like we could still make a difference on people's lives and the community's lives. And also, for me specifically, being closer to home, being in the Midwest is a big deal. Why we stayed for so long, I think the success. I don't think the right opportunity came along. I think we were treated very well. A lot of different things went into that, but specific to this opportunity, why this one is 100%, it is home. Iowa is home. It is God's country, and obviously the ability to make a difference on more people's lives because of the network that we're able to touch out here.
Any more questions from media for Ben, or Martin, or Brian?
This one. You got a question?
Where you have retained players, they have talent here.
Yep.
Why would they want to go anyplace else?
That's a great question. I think you need to talk to them. See if you can get that Tucker DeVries kid to stay. I talked to him the other day, and I offered him I think everybody's salary in this building, and he still wasn't going to stay. No, we're trying. There's a few that are still around, and we're still trying. But again, that kind of goes to that transfer portal / NIL thing, where that's why it's important to make sure that we invest in it here, so that we can retain some of those kids a little bit more consistently. Because a lot of these kids are getting outlandish offers. Not to go into too much detail. So, but yeah, I'd love to keep a few of them.
Do you have a staff yet?
We're getting there. Yes, we've got a few.
Retained?
What's that?
Anybody retained?
Possibly. Not quite sure yet, but possibly. Yes, sir.
All right, we'll have some more questions for Coach McCollum here off to the side for local media. Everybody, one more round of applause for head coach.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate it.
Yeah.
Thank you. Appreciate the opportunity.
Brian and Marty will also be available for local media.
Good job, Mike.